Now there's a big debate in guitar circles whether or not you should glue in the frets. As you can see, this is for those that have never even contemplated doing this. The fingerboard's slotted and the frets are pounded into those slots. And if you look right here, hopefully you can see it. I don't know if you can, but this fret has a tang on it. It's the little part that goes down into the slot. I don't know if that'll work or not, if you can see that. But anyway, the tang goes down into the slot and it's got barbs on it which theoretically seat into the wood and keep the fret from being able to lift up out of the wood. The debate is whether you should help this fret to stay in by adding a little glue. Some people say no, you don't need glue, and others insist that you need glue. It helps the bond of the fret to the wood and helps the tone, yada yada. I'm not sure what I believe, but I decided that I would go with the glue because, you know, better safe than sorry. Anyway, this is the stuff I went with. This is a very, very, very almost water-thin super glue. I got this from Woodcraft. Technical name for it's cyanoacrylate, I think I pronounced that correctly. Anyway, it's really thin super glue. Now, when I was reading on the internet about different ways to do this gluing technique, I read in several places where you can seat the fret in. Here, let me grab a different fretboard. This is my practice fretboard. Where you can seat the fret, alright, and then put the glue right on the edge of it, and because it's so thin, through capillary action it'll seep down into the slot. This method did not work for me. Maybe my glue's not thin enough, but I doubt it. Maybe I just am so good at pressing those frets in that there's just no space for the glue to go. I doubt that too. Anyway, I had to develop a different method to do it, and I'm sure I didn't invent this method. I'm sure other people do it, but it works for me. Now, this is my practice fretboard, and you may recognize it from earlier in the blog. This is the fretboard I screwed up when I was doing the radius. I probably can't get this back far enough for you to see, but it's really messed up. And this was great to practice on. I'm ready to move on to the real thing. But if you can see, right here, this is where I messed up the glue process, trying out different things. And I couldn't get that acetone on there enough to clean it up really well. But these two frets are perfectly in there. There's no glue residue, no nothing. There's a few others in between that I did that are perfectly seated. So I feel like I've got this method down, the gluing method. My final tool, well, it's two tools in one actually, is an arbor press. This is an arbor press specifically designed for pressing frets. You get this from StewMac. It's a lot like a drill press. You grab the handle and push it down. This caul right here, hopefully you can see it well, is radiused right here. It's got a 12-degree radius, exactly like the fretboard. Alright, so when you press that fret down, it's going to exactly match the radius of the fretboard. It moves like this. It's got a little bit of play in it. That just helps it be able to seat correctly before you press. This is removable. The reason I bought this StewMac arbor press was, number one, it's fitted for this caul. Alright, you can buy arbor presses a lot like this at Harbor Freight or wherever for a little bit cheaper, but you have to take it somewhere and get the proper size hole drilled up in here and then get a tap screw so that this thing will stay in place. So you can't just use them stock. I just decided to spend the money, whatever this costs, 80 bucks, I don't know, and get the one that fit the caul and just do it right. And the reason I did this, because initially I had the caul only and I used it in my drill press. For some reason, I just couldn't get it to press accurately. Whether the drill press was... I have a rather old drill press, and it's probably a little bit sloppy and, probably not as precise. But I was having trouble with when I was pressing, the fret would tip like this and just mess everything up. And so I just decided, you know what, I'm going to be doing plenty of these jobs in the future probably. This is kind of an addictive hobby. Might as well just have the right tool. And like I said, don't be afraid to go get the other version from Harbor Freight or some other place for cheaper, and just take this to a machine shop and get it modified. All right, so those are the tools.